STEM partnerships, then we've got curriculum and learner pathways, and we've got equity and equality in STEM. One thing that we're finding is a lot of evidence matches more than one element, and that's fine. What you can do is you can provide your description will be slightly different. Okay. You've got a 3-year window to submit evidence, and what you can do is you can submit evidence for one element at a time, or you might want to do the full thing, but most settings at the moment are focusing on perhaps one element and then just slowly building up their evidence. On the application guidance, you've got a lot of examples with regard to each element. So obviously you're not going to be doing all of those, but it just gives you a wee idea as to some of the things that would make sense. So that's leadership, that's curriculum and learner pathways. The process is designed to be quite straightforward. We have got simply registering, and then you carry out a self-evaluation using the STEM self-evaluation framework. And there you've got an example of a setting profile. So you do that within your first page, and then you're going to collate your evidence for the different elements. Now, there's a PowerPoint template on the website, and all we're looking is a maximum of 5 slides per element, okay? And once you've got those 5 elements validated, then you'll be invited to submit an action plan, and for a validation conversation, that's typically online at the moment. And then once that's completed, that is you achieved your full award, okay? Now, what I would like you to do just now is just take a couple of minutes to reflect on current practice that's happening across your setting, and that fits with STEM. And then I'm going to have a Jamboard board ready for you to have a wee think. So just we'll go for 44 past. So my colleague Fiona has put in a link to the STEM Self-Evaluation Improvement Framework, and I've put in a link for the STEM Awards. So you've got an option there for it to be CLD or ELC and schools that you can link towards. Okay, so I've put a link to a Jamboard into the chat, and what colleagues have found actually is that they're sometimes using this with their setting, and people across the setting can populate some of their things, and it's just a useful way of collating some of the information. So on the first 2 slides, have a wee look and try to have a think where your different activities might fit across the 5 elements. Okay. Okay. So in case you've not used Jamboard before, you've got the option of doing sticky notes. Obviously, they're not called post-it notes, they're sticky notes. So you click on there, type in some information, and then just place it where you want to put it. Okay. Sounds fair as well. Just pop to the next one, just in case. No. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so outside speakers from STEM industries, absolutely. So the P5's organising the science fair kind of also fits quite neatly with leadership in STEM as well. So that's quite cool. Yes, Jennifer.
I'm not very clear about the curriculum pathways one. What sort of fits into that category?
Okay.
What sort of if you can give me an example, I might be able to think of examples of things we've done.
Yeah. So I suppose incorporating things like some IDL things, it could be. So you're from a primary setting, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So where science has been integrated and STEM has been integrated into the curriculum, basically. Okay.
And maybe just alternative ways of doing stuff. I think at the top you said you were doing the bird watching and things, and it's just sort of a bit more interesting way of doing things.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot.
And your stuff with that you said, well, with RSPB and anything with RET and things fits really neatly with the employability and partnerships, and that could also fit with curriculum pathways.
I think it would also include things like if you engage with any of the primary engineers kind of projects, climate smarter, carbon capture, all of that kind of stuff as well, Jenny. So if your school's involved in any of those things, that would fit in there. That's my understanding anyway.
Yep.
The sort of the out of the normal kind of stuff really is the way I kind of think of it.
Fiona's mentioned any sustainability stuff as well that you've been doing.
Yeah.
One thing that's quite tricky, so just being careful about the difference between family learning and parental engagement is quite a subtle thing. So the parents visiting and sharing experiences fits more neatly with STEM partnerships and employability. Whereas if the parents or the community are learning new things, then that would be the family learning. So just be careful of that.
I noticed that no one has mentioned working with STEM ambassadors. Don't forget that if you have worked with STEM ambassadors at all, that counts.
Yep, absolutely. And if you're running a Young STEM Leader program, that can dovetail with a lot of this as well, not just leadership. So this one down here as well, engineering skills and then construction area fits with employability skills a wee bit, depends how it's introduced. Superb. Diversity and visitors, fantastic. Now the third slide on this is a bit of the challenges. I suppose you can just put a blank post-it note on the ones that you think are probably going to be the most challenging to actually find evidence for. Okay. And hopefully we can give suggestions of support. It's a really good choice as well. Diversity in the books and posters on different STEM subjects. Really good. And highlighting not all scientists wear lab coats. That's a traditional thing, and then people get caught up doing that as well. Fiona, would you want to mention anything else on the equity side of things? That's one of your many areas of expertise.
Yeah, sorry, there's a really loud drill in the background. I don't know if it's interrupting, but hopefully you can hear me okay. Yeah, I think there's obviously like lots of really good suggestions there. I suppose it's thinking about things like free period products in the toilets as well. Something like that can be really helpful, just in terms of like actually taking that back to attendance. You know, if girls who are on their period aren't able to attend, then they can't do STEM. So that's always kind of like one of those things that people don't necessarily think about. And as well, from the equity angle, you know, just that provision of different pathways as well can be a really good way to address any imbalances in attainment. So thinking about it from that perspective and different STEM pathways. So I suppose that's more for secondary or possibly CLD colleagues, but just some ideas. Also, obviously, with that one, sometimes people do find it hard to evidence. So I am here to help with that. My previous role was actually inequalities in STEM, so definitely get in touch and give me a shout if you would like any support with that or any of the elements. So thanks, Ian.
So interesting, leadership in STEM. So I suppose the very fact if you are going to be the one that's going to lead the STEM Nation Award, then that would be an example of leadership in STEM. And then you're organising the evidence, you're collaborating with others to submit your evidence, to gather and submit your evidence. You might have within lessons P7s coming in to support P4, something like that, and that could quite easily be leadership in STEM as well. Various different things that you could include there. There might even be examples of leadership taking place. So yeah, hard to say evidence. So I suppose it might be surveys as to what's taken place before and what you're going to look into. So you're leading a new direction on how it's going to develop, and that could quite easily be. We've got colleagues that submit the evidence from their self-evaluation and framework. Sorry, start that again. Submit the summary of their self-evaluation improvement framework, and that can be part of their leadership in STEM. We don't necessarily need it to be all photos. We are happy for it to be more description. It might just be a couple of photos. It doesn't. That's one thing we're sort of developing as we're learning more about how this is all working. Some settings is bullet points, and it's details of things. So it have to be, oh, there's a photograph of a meeting taking place. It can actually be, right, this is what happened, and this is what we've learned from it, and this is what we're taking forward. Think of pictures of things which encourage, yeah, that's good. And then if you've, for the equity and the equality, if you've got initially pictures and then you might have that you've got a new balance as to the interest taking place with learners. So funding and resources, at the end of the meeting, I'll get Kim to forward a PDF that we've got, which summarises some different funding that's available. I'm about to do the update for February, because obviously there's some that are regained and there's some that disappear over time. So we're updating the monthly, so we'll get Kim to email that out to everyone that's on this call, and that'll be good. So here's some of the examples of evidence from other settings. So this was Bowmore Primary School for their leadership in STEM. So there's a lot of description as to what the impact was, and there's some samples of activities that their learners actually led. So they, with support, organised a variety of different things. I was speaking to a colleague in North Lanarkshire today at the conference I was at, and they were saying that speaking to primary teachers, P6s, P7s, P5s are given more opportunities to lead than often happens in high school and even S3. So it's quite interesting how confident learners can be in leading what they're doing. Example of employability in STEM partnership working. Again, Bowmore again. So they had an archaeology project. Okay. STEM family learning. This is a very interesting one from Fife, where the learners actually went to the local care home and did STEM sessions there. And then we've got Monifeith High School and their equity and equality. So these are just one little sample of a slide out of the maximum of 5 that schools submit. Okay. Yeah, as Fiona mentions, we're still looking for, we've got 5 CLD settings registered, but we're just slowly building up their submissions and their evidence. So Monifeith did some stuff, some background things about IGBE, and we're improving their balance of different subjects with males and females, and etc. Okay, some various women in STEM activities as well. So key thing is you can help. Obviously, the children and young people within your school are an absolute vital resource, as are their parents and also the wider community. You've got STEM partners. There might be local employers, etc. You've got CLD colleagues who will be able to give you support with regard to family learning, for example. You've got practitioners, whether it's within the setting or within your neighbours or within your feeder primaries or the high school and things like this. You're lucky to have 2 PSDOs. You've got Kim and you've got Caroline. You've also got 2 regional STEM officers. So that's Mark and Fiona. You've got STEM Nation Network. And at the moment, you've got myself. My secondment and theory finishes at the end of March. But in the interim, just keep asking any questions. A bit more detail with regard to STEM partners. So you've got STEM ambassadors. There is a whole army of STEM ambassadors ultimately that are available. You've got RTAVs as well who coordinate a lot of the CERC work. You've got CERC themselves. You've got Aberdeen Science Centre, RIT, Royal Society of Chemistry, the Royal Society, universities and colleges. They will all give you various degrees of support, okay? Most of these organisations are very aware of the STEM Nation Award, and they are able to understand the support that they can provide, okay? We've got regular drop-in sessions for interested and registered settings as well. So I'll put a link to upcoming STEM events. You've got secondary science network meetings, and you've got STEM Nation network sessions as well, which are all there to support your STEM process within your setting. Would there be any questions right now? Yes, Jenny.
I was just thinking, my head teacher is very keen for us to do this award, and I'd asked about it previously, but now is the right time for us to do it. What should be my next step? I've got a team, somebody from second level, someone from early level to join me, and someone from our ASN team. What would be our first thing we should do?
So I'll give you the direct link to the information for ELC and ELC settings in schools. And if you sort of have a look through the application guidance and have a look through the types of evidence that other settings provided, it was all very much during the pilot, and that will just give you a gauge of the structure. You can use that Jamboard to help organise your collaboration, I would suggest, and then you'll see what is all going on. You might find that you've got some very clear elements that have loads of evidence, and just get your evidence submitted. You can get informal advice from Mark, Fiona or myself, or just some informal feedback before you do your official submission as well, and just build your evidence for your elements as you go. Does that help, Jenny?
Yep, no, that's great. And there was a survey to do as well, wasn't there, first? So the survey first and then that, or use the Jamboard thing perhaps as the survey to see where we're at?
Yeah, I mean, the framework's quite in detail, so don't be too daunted by the framework, and how you interpret some of the bits can be quite challenging. But yeah, I mean, if you go through the application guidance, then that will give you a concrete understanding as to what is all taking place, I would say.
Brilliant, thank you.
You're welcome. We'd be really keen to coordinate with some of the CLD settings. So if you would be interested, that would be really, really useful to have a chat about it if you want more detail. Kim's been through it, so she knows.
I think I'm a STEM ambassador as well. I think during lockdown,
Right.
I've never really had much chance, but I was going to mention at our next bit that I think our GamesCon, we got agreement from STEM that the participants in GameCon and our GamesCon, they can be awarded some sort of leadership part in that because they're kind of leading on projects. Can't remember what it was, but that was quite good. It's good that they get another bonus for the GamesCon. Yeah.
Yeah, superb.
One approach might be to concentrate on one element at a time. If you know your school is doing some fab work on family learning, for instance, use that as a starting point to get used to the process. That might work for some.
Mm-hmm.
Or do as Ian suggests, collect your evidence and see where you're strong, which element you're strong in, and start building up your evidence from there. But little steps.
Yeah.
I think you can get quite sort of overwhelmed if you try and do it all at once. Yeah, little bits at a time, I think, from experience.
And the key thing as well, it's not about inventing brand new stuff. It's about actually recognising the things you're doing and promoting those. And then in your action plan, you'll develop your next steps.
So you'll send me that PDF for you, Ian.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a great session. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I'm sure you've got a lot of people sort of wanting to start now. So I think once you start, it's not such a huge process as you might imagine. But thank you.